Today on Super Soul Sunday.
Brother David, how are you?
Thank you.
So great. I've been looking forward to being with you. Oh, thank you so much.
He is beloved the world over for his enduring message about gratefulness. It's the true source of lasting joy.
Grateful living is to be grateful at all times, no matter what happens, also in the midst of suffering.
91-year-old author, scholar, and Benedictine monk, Brother David Steindl-Rast, has inspired generations.
We have the opportunity to stretch even further than people had to stretch themselves before, to understand one another, to listen to one another.
And his TED Talk has over 6 million views. Today, Brother Steindl-Rast invites us to embrace the spiritual practice of grateful living.
What you just said is the key that unlocks the path to a successful life, and that is trust life.
That is the beginning.
That is the beginning, right? Isn't that the foundation?
That's the foundation of everything.
And later in this week's Super Soul original short, 13 years after a young woman, Alex Molina, shared her journey as a homeless teenager on The Oprah Winfrey Show, her path forward led her to a full circle moment of gratitude and connection.
I love you. I know the study of gratitude has been your life's work, and as we now in the world are searching for ways to find common ground, you believe that all humans share the same yearning. What is that yearning?
The yearning is basically, I think all humans would agree, to be happy. To be happy, to be joyful. And I make a little distinction between happy and joyful because we say we want to be happy, but we want to be happy with a happiness that lasts.
Yes.
And we are well aware that happiness just doesn't last. Happiness cannot last.
Cannot last.
So we have to find the happiness that lasts. And that happiness I call joy. And we can't find that because we can't find that joy even in the midst of unhappiness.
Yes. So for you, is gratefulness a practice?
Yes,
Or
that's
just a
very
way of
important.
being? As a way of being?
It's a way of being,
Yeah.
but the practice is your way of being.
Yes.
It's a way of living. That's why lately I talk less about gratitude, but more about grateful living. Because when you speak about gratitude, people often think, oh yeah, when something nice happens, then of course I'm grateful. But grateful living is to be grateful at all times, no matter what happens. And that means reaping the joy that comes from gratefulness at all times, also in the midst of suffering.
And so what do you think the essence of grateful living is? If I want to live more gratefully in my life, which I'm telling you.
First you have to ask, what are you really grateful for? And there it's important to realize you're not grateful for what happens at this moment necessarily, because it may be something for which you cannot be grateful. If you get news that your dearest friend has just died, or if there are many, or if you're just faced on the news with oppression and exploitation and misery and violence, you can't be grateful for that. But at every moment, life gives you the opportunity to do something with what life gives you. And therefore, grateful living means learning to avail yourself moment by moment of that opportunity.
Yes.
And that most of the time it's the opportunity to enjoy.
Yes.
And one really has to help people realize that. Just 99% of the time we could enjoy that we can breathe, enjoy that we have eyes to, and ears to hear, everything.
And not wait until you have to lose your sight or have to breathe through a machine or have some kind of disease before you can appreciate the fact that you have all of these.
Exactly, that you have legs, you notice when you break a leg or when you have some difficulty. No, at all times. But that is enjoyment. That is the opportunity to enjoy.
So you can imagine that in our country, as well as all over the world actually, disruption is occurring at a rate that we have never seen. I was so happy to read in Gratefulness, The Heart of Prayer, how you see everything as an opportunity, because I've been thinking deeply about our situation. And I think this moment in our culture, in our world, in our society, is a moment that calls for each of us to step into this opportunity.
Absolutely, and that is quite a different opportunity from enjoying things.
Yes, yes.
But it is also a gift, and a great gift, that in a time and in a place, is the whole world today, where everything is torn and everything
broken
is broken.
Dissension.
We have the opportunity to stretch even further than people had to stretch themselves before, to understand one another, to listen to one another.
Yeah, to come to a common hope. And I love how you define hope. Would you share this with our viewers?
I think hope is something very different from our hopes.
I think that's so important.
Because the hopes are always something that we can imagine.
Right.
You can't hope for it unless you can imagine it. But hope, in this truly spiritual sense, is openness for surprise, for that which you cannot imagine.
The real hope, with the capital H,
that's right,
is being open to surprise. Yes.
And to open your heart for that surprise.
As opposed to the hope for the thing that you imagine or you want or you're wishing for. Yes.
And if you trust life, it will surprise you and it will always give you good things.
Okay, so let's start right there, because I think that what you just said is the key, that unlocks the path to a successful life, and that is trust life.
That is the beginning.
That is the beginning, right? Isn't that the foundation?
That's the foundation of everything.
And that's what ultimately faith is it not?
We can withhold that trust or we can give it. And if we withhold it, we can try it for a little while, but everything goes wrong.
How can people learn to not withhold it when you feel like life has given you an unfair shot? How can you develop faith, maintain, sustain faith when you really think life has been really unfair?
Yeah. I too quickly say, well, yes, you should trust in life, and I would be very careful. But it's the only thing that you can say. And you ask, how can I prove that life is worth trusting? If you know the person well enough and can really speak from heart to heart, that's also necessary. But you can make them look back on their life, and they will see that even the worst things that happened to them turned out to be life-giving. If you look back on your life, you see situations and times when everything seemed to be just terrible, yes, catastrophe. Mm-hmm. And now, out of this catastrophe, not in spite of it, even because of it, you got where you are. And that is so encouraging. But you see it mostly when you look in the rear mirror, so to say. Mm-hmm. You see it looking back. And when you look forward, you can't see it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the difficult situation.
Correct. But I think also developing a trust in life, even when the hard times come, you know you'll get through it.
That is the point. Because you have experienced it in the past, and you can see it when you look at the past. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the future, you can't see it. That's what makes it so difficult. And then you need that trust. Even though I don't see it, I trust that life will give me good things.
Yes. So how do you come to be a human being who lives more alive?
Those are the three necessary steps that have to be repeated over and over to really come alive.
So how do you come to be a human being who lives more alive?
Well, first you have to stop because we are in such a fast lane in life, most of us. Whether we want it or not, life is so fast these days. So we are really rushed along, and we don't see the opportunity, you see. Life offers us moment by moment opportunity. So have to stop and get into the present moment. Our shared friend Eckhart Tolle,
Yes.
he has really taught people that.
Yes.
You have to stop long enough to be present. And then you can listen, look, smell if necessary, whatever. What is now the opportunity that life offers me at this moment? And then that is the look. And then go and grab it. Do something with it. When it comes to enjoyment, enjoy the moment really. Don't just say nice flowers and go on to something else. But look at the flowers, let them impress you.
Yeah.
So stop, look, go. Those are the three necessary steps that have to be repeated over and over to really come alive. That is really the happiness that we all long for, to be alive on all levels, on the physical level, on mental level,
Right.
emotional level, and on the spiritual level.
Right. I know you believe that gratitude can inspire a revolution, because in your TED Talk you said gratitude can change our world in immensely important ways, because if you're grateful, you're not fearful, and if you're not fearful, you're not violent. If you're grateful, you act out of a sense of enough and not of a sense of scarcity, and you are willing to share. Since we've lived under the power pyramid for so many hundreds of years, can you think being grateful inspire a revolution?
Well, the reason why the power pyramid is so destructive.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
is-
tell us what you mean by the power pyramid.
Yes, it is the social life, the form that we give our social life if we are fearful. And those are the two possibilities to life, either to trust life or to be fearful of life. Fearfulness makes you violent, and the root of violence is fearfulness.
Yes, absolutely.
And then this fear builds this pyramid, because the one that is a little higher up than the others is fearful that somebody else might get there, and so uses violence to oppress the others. There's already oppression. Then those
So
who
when
are
we see the terrorists throughout the world, the violence being enacted upon people throughout the world, all those people are doing that because they're afraid.
Exactly, and they are afraid of one another, that the other one would get ahead.
Yeah.
So you get competition and,
Yes.
and
Right.
rivalry, and then you get greed, because people think, oh, there's not enough. Again, fear that there's not enough. And if you fear that there's not enough, you want to get as much as possible for yourself.
Correct.
And exactly the opposite is when you trust life, because then you are not fearful. Instead of violence, non-violence, peace. That is exactly the world all of us want, a world of peace, of cooperation, and of sharing.
Something I read that struck me, where you were saying this time that we're all living in now, where everybody feels so divided and can't agree, that this time may be offering us the opportunity to love our enemies.
Exactly. And that is
What a
what
concept.
That's what we have to learn today.
Yeah.
And I put the emphasis on the fact that it remains the enemy, because if suddenly they became your friends, you would love your friends but not your enemies. They remain your enemies, but you love them. Now,
How is that possible?
well, first of all, you have to say what do you mean by love.
Yes.
And the one definition, if you want, sort of working definition of any kind of love. There's so many kinds of love.
Yeah.
Love of your spouse, love of your friend, love of your animals, love of your country. What all of them have together is, I say, yes, we belong together. Yes to belonging. Love is a yes to belonging that is not only said with your mouth, but with your whole being. A lived yes to belonging, existential yes.
Well, that's a great definition. Love is a lived yes to belonging. So what I hear you saying is that You can love your enemies, love them by understanding they have as much right to belong.
We belong together. We
Belong
together.
as you do.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you have to agree with them.
No.
Because if you're going to love your enemies, they have to remain your enemies, right?
Yes. One of the aspects of loving your enemies is that you listen to them, you listen what are they saying.
Yes.
And then you say, maybe they are right. For a moment you must think, maybe they are right and not I. So you check what your opinion is against their opinion.
Right.
That's already a step forward. Then you look at the issue. That would be the real thing. Let's together look at the issue and not have our preconceived notions. So you're trying to get your enemies to look at the issues, not at their position.
And where can we find some common ground?
And where can we find common ground?
Yeah.
But it also means that in those aspects in which your enemies, I say it with quotation marks, because usually when you say enemies, you think you hate them. No, the enemies whom you love, in some cases you have to do everything to thwart their purpose. If somebody stands for destruction of the environment, cuts down the rainforest, they are my enemies. I can't help it. They are my enemies. And I will do everything possible to protect the animals.
But will you still love them?
I will still love them because we belong together.
Do you believe that every person who comes into the world has a calling?
That would even be an entrance to living a life of grateful living by asking yourself, what do I hate to do?
Yes.
Start with that.
Do you believe that every person who comes into the world has a calling?
Absolutely. But it's difficult to become aware of it. Yeah, I think everybody has a calling. I speak of life, it's that great mystery that we confront as human beings. Life...
and great mystery is another word you use for God.
For life, life, for mystery. And if you are sure that you are using the word God correctly, you could even call it God, but there are so many misunderstandings. So I call it life. Everybody knows what we mean by that. It's very mysterious. You cannot analyze it, you cannot grasp it, but you can understand it if you give yourself to it, if you let it take hold of you. And life offers you things very different from any other person. There's never been another person that had exactly your
the same
fingerprints and the same ancestors, same born at this time in history. That makes a great difference. And all these things make you're very, very unique. And this uniqueness is your calling, to live it to the full, that uniqueness. It's like a role that we are given, you see. When I say we all belong together, that is our self.
Yes, so the real calling for all of us is this calling that each of us as an individual has to come alive as a human being and express whatever that is.
Exactly.
Yeah. People want to come alive in their uniqueness and to be able to express what that is, which is the mystery expressing itself through them.
In that unique form, as never before.
Yeah.
There is a beautiful story from the mystical tradition in Judaism where one great master prays, "Oh God, make me like Abraham." And the voice comes from heaven and says, "I've already got one, Abraham." That's right. I want you in your uniqueness.
That's right, that's right. I appreciate you saying that the term spirit has been so misused that I would be perfectly happy to drop it completely, declare a moratorium on the word spirit, and use always the term common sense. Because in contemporary parlance, that says it much better. It makes sense. It's connected with the body through the senses. I thought that was brilliant when I read that.
I'm glad you like that.
Yes. Because I think the word spirit is so confusing for people that if we start using the common
Common sense.
It's the common
Because
sense.
it makes sense. It has to do with the senses, with all our senses, and it is common to all, and it leads to awareness that we are all one.
So this is what's so fascinating to me about your life story, is that your own path to gratefulness actually started as a teenager, growing up in Nazi-occupied Austria, where you witnessed the horrors of Hitler's power. So you have been in that space where it is as bad as you can get. And how did you cultivate a practice of gratitude in the midst of war?
When everything is so uncertain, and when the bombs are falling left and right, and you don't even know whether your house is, by no means, whether your house is going to
Yeah, there were
stand.
many times where the bombs would go off and you were surprised that you were still alive.
Yes, many, many times. And when you live in that way...
So were you allowed to stay in your home? You were never taken off to a camp?
I was in the army, in the German army, but we were not in camps. We had to live in the present moment, that tolle moment. And when you live in the present moment, you are all there. That's where the stop brings you. And then you can look and you can go from that moment.
I can imagine that the only thing you can do is focus on right now, because it's too much to try to worry about what's going to happen an hour from now.
You have not the slightest idea.
I have not the slightest idea.
I remember a situation in which one of our teachers gave us a homework, and he said, "This is for next Thursday." And the whole class burst out laughing. Next Thursday? Who knows what's next Thursday?
Wow. I know. I read that you didn't even know, you never expected to live to 20.
Absolutely not.
Coming up,
Will you share the lesson in gratitude you learned from keeping death before your eyes and where you got that at all times?
and later in this week's Super Soul original short, when I first met Alex Molina, she'd been homeless and alone since the age of 16.
I grew up in a very abusive home. My father was very abusive towards all of us. My mother could never show any affection towards us.
Over 10 years later, her remarkable journey continues to inspire.
No way.
You didn't expect to make it to 20, and here you are, 91.
Yeah.
Wow. Will you share the lesson in gratitude you learned from keeping death before your eyes and where you got that at all times?
Well, what I just described, this situation in which you have to live in the present moment because the bombs are falling left and right, and in every other way your life is endangered. This living in the present moment, that is what gives you joy in life. As I'd read this sentence in a little book called The Rule of St. Benedict, that is the rule according to which the Benedictine monks live for 1500 years now. And we read it only because we wanted to do something spiteful against our Nazi teachers, and we knew they didn't want us to read that sort of thing. And that sentence, to have death at all times before your eyes, that struck me deeply. And then, when the war was over, it came back to my mind, and I thought, well, that's why we were so joyful, you know, because we had death before our eyes, we had to live in the present moment. We had a wonderful youth. I wouldn't want to trade it against anything with all the hardship. And that, because I had read it in the Rule of St. Benedict, I thought, well, probably I should become a Benedictine monk. But I didn't like the idea at all, and I was running away from it for many years.
Really?
Yeah.
So how did you finally become a Benedictine monk?
Well, first of all, I started studying anything, finding any alibi that I could find. So studying this, and I have to finish that, studied art, and then I studied psychology, and then I even went to the United States from Europe. So you don't go to the United States in order to become a monk. I
No,
was
you
running
don't.
away from it. And then I told a friend, you know, if I had lived in the Middle Ages, I would have joined the Benedictines, but I want that original spirit. And I told this to a friend, and he said, oh, that's funny. I just read that they started a monastery in Elmira, New York, and it's supposed to be a reform of the Benedictine life, and they want to come back to the original fervor of the rule. And that was it. I went there, and I knew that was it. Love at first sight, and I would do it again.
So how old were you when you first joined?
I was 26.
So what's the life of a Benedictine monk like?
Well, we do basically 3 activities, kinds of activities. The one is we have a choir, we pray in choir, and we pray 7 times a day. Sometimes that's adjusted and so, but basically at sunrise, at noon, at sunset, and in between at those hours. So we have what we call the hours of the day. We come together, we chant. Many people nowadays like this
like
chant.
The chanting, yes,
They feel that. So we chant, we pray together, we chant. That is one of our activities. The other one is that we study or meditate on scripture, but also on all sorts of other things. And the third activity is working with your hands. So everybody works with their hands part of the time, part of the day, that keeps you down to earth, as you say. That's typically Benedictine. And my favorite work, and now at my age, there isn't much else I can do, is washing the dishes. So,
with your hands.
Doing the dishes. But that is also a wonderful way of stop, look, go. You feel the dishcloth, you feel the warm water and the cold rinsing water. You're aware of it, you become aware of it. That is the joy. Most people don't like washing dishes, but it can be a real communication with life. That would even be an entrance to living a life of grateful living by asking yourself, what do I hate to do?
Yes.
Start with that, and then find the opportunity in it, in that thing that you up to now you hated it. Now you find, and what opportunity does it give me?
I think so many people are feeling overwhelmed by their anger today. How can we transform that anger into something more positive? 3, 5, 7, 10. I think so many people are feeling overwhelmed by their anger today. How can we transform that anger into something more positive?
Anger, I actually have a rather positive view of anger.
Do you?
Anger gives you a lot of energy. So the anger in itself, that burst of energy, is something very positive. So pat yourself on the shoulder if you are alive.
If you're going to let it motivate you to do something.
But now comes the point, how should it motivate you?
Yeah.
And it should motivate you by looking at the others as your equals. We belong together. But the anger itself, that burst of energy, let's use it. Let's use it positively. And positively means by remembering we belong together. This is our world. This is one world.
I know. The faulty thinking is people believing that certain groups have a right to be here and others do not. That's where we've gone wrong. And you believe that one way toward a better world is to remember one of the most popular commands in the Bible, which is
fear not.
Fear not.
That is the main thing. Fear not.
I know, and you said that it's in the Bible 365 times.
One for every day of the year.
I don't think that's an accident, right?
I didn't count it, but I read it, so I believe it. It's very good. For every day of the year, fear not, fear not. That is the main thing, because it's the opposite of the power pyramid. Out of fear, violence, out of fear, greed, out of fear, rivalry, all these bad things. And out of trust in life comes cooperation, peace, sharing. That's what we need today.
Yeah.
But we have to distinguish.
And ultimately that love that says yes.
To belonging. We all belong together. And we live on a limited planet, and we cannot have unlimited growth on a limited planet.
So at 90 years old, 91, what still surprises you?
What still surprised me, everything, every day, everything. I would have to list everything. That I can sit here and have this conversation with you, what a gift that is, and what a surprise, you know? Yeah. And I never expected it. Wonderful, very grateful for it. But everything is surprising.
So I want to end with a passage from your forthcoming book, I Am Through You, So I. You write, daily it becomes clearer to me. Gratitude is a celebration of love, just as love is the lived yes of joyful mutual belonging. Gratitude celebrates life with a joyful yes at every knot of the great network in which everything is connected to everything. As we live this yes with ever more conviction, love ripens ever more abundantly in the autumn sun of life. I now see it as my main task to simply allow this to happen, since we do not die from death, but from fully ripened love. Wow. I guess you got to be a Benedictine monk to come up with that. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this opportunity.
Coming up in today's Super Soul original short, 13 years after the Oprah show surprised Alex Molina with a college scholarship, she pays it forward in the shelter she once called home. In today's Super Soul original short, a life-changing lesson in gratitude and the transformative power of paying it forward. I first met Alex Molina on The Oprah Show in 2004. Alex was 20 years old, living in Los Angeles, and struggling to heal the wounds of a difficult upbringing.
I grew up in a very abusive home. My father was very abusive towards all of us. My mother could never show any affection towards us.
After years of living in shelters and foster homes, Alex became legally emancipated at the age of 16. Fighting to stay off the streets of LA, she discovered Covenant House, a residential program for homeless youth. Through Covenant House, Alex says she found support, structure, and a new way of living.
When I was young and I first was homeless, my escape was always school. For me, from a very young age, I knew that what was going to take me out of my homelessness was my education.
Inspired by her courage and resilience, we surprised Alex on The Oprah Show with a full college scholarship.
On that Oprah Show, my life completely transformed and changed. I finally had that one person who believed in me, and she's never stopped.
13 years have passed since that moment, and Alex has found the connection she longed for by helping others heal.
I got a degree in sociology, and with that, I wanted to help people. I feel like that's my calling. That's my purpose in life.
How are you doing, Alex?
I got hired at Covenant House.
Nice to see you.
And became a case manager. That's a full circle moment right there for me.
Oh, thank you so much.
I often had a lot of youth look at me and say, "You don't know what it's like to live here." And I would look at them in the eye and be like, I slept in those hallways. I slept in those bunk beds. And then I made it to college and I made something of myself, and now I'm here giving back to you guys. So I do know.
And it was this knowing that made Alex want to do even more.
What you see here are the same bunk beds that I once slept on 13 years ago as a homeless kid at Covenant House. But obviously in worse condition, it broke my heart, and I just couldn't stand by that. So I just decided to ask Oprah if she would come on board and maybe help.
Alex originally hoped just for new mattresses, but Covenant House needed so much more. So I called interior designer Jeremiah Brent.
See, I came in, I met the kids, I met everybody that's involved in this amazing organization and said, we've got to change everything.
4 weeks, 40 rooms, and 96 beds later, Jeremiah invited Alex and me to see the transformation.
Welcome home.
Hi, sweetie. How are you? Good. Hi, Jeremiah.
How are you?
Hi, Jeremiah. Can't wait to see.
You excited?
I'm excited.
Yeah. Just so you know where this has kind of gone now, is it went from just being beds to completely renovating all 4 buildings. From the ground up, new floor, new walls, everything's been changed. New laundry rooms, new washers and dryers. We've even gone and addressed this front room, which before was a place where kids come in off the street at night.
Yeah.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah, you guys ready? After you guys.
All right, after you.
Wow.
Wow.
Wait.
Whoa.
This looks like a home.
You come into this internet cafe, which was just a receiving lobby before. The idea is that the second you walk through the door, you shift the possibilities. Kids start to think, okay, it is possible. I am seen, I am heard, there are people that care.
This is beyond what I could have ever dreamed of.
And we're just getting started.
This is the first start. Yes.
All right, next up.
All right, so next we're going to go up to the safe haven rooms, which is where on the journey of enrolling in the program, everybody starts there.
Okay.
So you ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Safe haven.
Let's go see the new beds. Interior design that really makes a difference is when you create spaces based on the moments that people are going to have in them. And this entire process, this entire project of working on the Covenant House has been about creating moments for these kids to begin their lives in an entirely different way. So come on in.
Oh, gosh, I love these.
No way. Wow.
Okay, so now you have to.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank you. This is home.
Oh my
The
God.
kids, this is their home. And it does not look like an institution or a shelter. It looks like a home.
It's one thing to preach about making a difference, it's another to practice. I mean, Alex was a kid in this program, and now look what she's done. Look what she's affected. The change that one kid in one bedroom here has shifted. Now every kid that comes in here for the next 10 years is going to feel that change.
This is Miss Lawn, my case manager.
Oh my God.
I heard so much about you.
Case manager.
How are you? I got to know Alex when she first came to Covenant House. She was like many of our clients, broken, alone, not sure of what her life was going to be. It's very rewarding to know that the hard work that she and I did together paid off in the end. She is my daughter for life.
So this room that we're about to walk into, this wing is really important. This main communal area, most of these kids work multiple jobs. So we really, really tried to create home for everybody. So I'm excited for you to see this one.
I'm excited.
Let's go.
Okay?
Whoa.
Stop. No. Wow.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. They
do.
so deserve it.
Looks like a home. My goodness.
Yes.
Well, this looks like home. Welcome home. Yeah, this is nice.
This was home for me. This was where I did homework. This is where I cried. This is where I made friendships. But it's become so much better, so amazing.
How are you going to top this?
Well,
We're going to do your old bedroom,
you'll
right?
tell me. So
We're
we
going
gotta go
to
back to your room.
Yeah.
When she was a full-time Covenant House resident, Alex moved from the bunk beds to a more private two-person bedroom where she could focus on her studies.
Wow! Not a mattress on the floor.
My goodness.
Wow!
This was where my old bed was. And desk.
Yeah, everybody's gonna have their own desks, chairs, lockers, their own areas, side tables.
This is amazing, Jeremiah. Wow. Especially because most of the kids in this program are going to school, and I would have to do my homework on my bed or on the floor, but you created space for them.
Yeah, we tried.
Thank you.
This is like really, this is my favorite actually. It just feels like this could be your room
Yeah.
at home.
At home. It's hard to even like think of a word that could justify how I feel right now, because this was my home, and to know that it actually looks like a home now. I love you.
This is the good stuff, when people rise up and the space rises up to meet them.
And that's what I hope, that this will inspire our kids to want to stay here. The streets are there. They have to do the work here now.
Fantastic.
But when they leave, hopefully they'll search for this again in their lives and
Yeah.
maintain it.
Okay, we did it. Hi. Hi, everybody. Well, hey. What a great day. I just want to say, first of all, thank you to Alex, who I've known since she was a resident here and made a visit to the Oprah show. And I saw that she had a light inside of her and believed in her and wanted to support her. And it doesn't matter, as a person who has come from, really a difficult, challenging upbringing, I know that your challenges, your suffering, your difficulties, every single one of them, none of them will be wasted. This will be the place that lifted you up and gave you the wings to fly out and do unimaginable things. Because it does not matter from whence you come. What matters is where you're going. What matters is where you're going. So enjoy this with love. Thank you.
I've been grateful for Oprah since I was a kid because she gave me that strength. I was able to see her life and see that somebody can actually get themselves out of what they were born into. And if she can do it, then I can do it.